Hello legends, welcome back to another video. This video is about the untold story of Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan. I'm sure you've heard of him and his stories, however this time we question ChatGPT about who Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was and what his legacy was like. Before we begin, legends, subscribe to the channel, share, and like, with other young legends, as well. So, who was Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan? Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was a Somali religious and nationalist leader, who fought against the British, Italian, and Ethiopian forces in the early 20th century to protect the independence of Somalia. He is considered a hero by many Somalis and is remembered for his resistance against colonialism and for his role in the creation of a modern Somali nation. How long was he fighting the British, Italian, and Ethiopian forces? Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan fought against the British, Italian, and Ethiopian forces for about 20 years, from the late 1890s to early 1920s. He led several uprisings and rebellions against the colonial powers, but ultimately was unable to prevent the colonization of Somalia by the British and Italians. Despite this, he remains a revered figure in Somali history for his bravery and leadership in the struggle for independence. How many men did he command throughout these battles? The exact number of men that Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan commanded throughout his battles against the British is not known. However, it is estimated that at the peak of his resistance movement, he commanded several thousand Somali fighters. His followers came from various clans and regions, and were united by their common goal of resisting colonial rule and protecting the independence of Somalia. The battle between Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan and the British. The battle between Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan and the British was a series of military conflicts that took place in Somalia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan, a Somali religious and nationalist leader, led several uprisings and rebellions against the British forces who were attempting to establish colonial rule in the region. The conflict lasted for over 20 years and was characterized by intense battles, guerrilla warfare, and frequent raids on British settlements and patrols. Despite his efforts, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was unable to prevent the colonization of Somalia by the British, who ultimately succeeded in establishing control over much of the country. However, his resistance movements and military campaigns were influential in shaping the nationalist sentiment among Somalis and are remembered as a significant moment in the country's struggle for independence. What is the meaning of the Darwish name? The term Darwish is an Arabic word that means warrior or fighter. It was used to describe the followers of Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan during his resistance movements against the British, Italian, and Ethiopian forces in Somalia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Darwish were characterized by their bravery, determination, and loyalty to their leader, and are remembered as some of the country's most dedicated nationalist fighters. The term has since become synonymous with Somali nationalism and resistance to colonial rule. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle wrote poems. How many did he publish? Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is known to have written several poems in Somali and Arabic during his lifetime. The exact number of poems he wrote is not known, but his works are considered important contributions to the literary and cultural heritage of Somalia. In addition to his poems, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is also remembered for his speeches and writings on nationalism, resistance, and independence, which inspired generations of Somali leaders and activists. Despite the challenges he faced during his lifetime, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan remains an iconic figure in the history of Somalia and is remembered for his leadership and contributions to the country's independence and cultural heritage. When and where did Mohamed Sayid Abdulle pass away? Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan, also known as the Mad MOA, died on December 21, 1920 in Iamai, Somalia. The exact circumstances of his death are not known, but it is believed that he passed away from natural causes while leading a resistance movement against the British forces. His death marked the end of an era in the country's struggle for independence, and he is remembered as one of the most influential leaders in the history of Somalia. Today, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is widely regarded as a symbol of Somali nationalism and resistance to colonial rule, and is celebrated for his contributions to the country's cultural heritage and independence. I have no forts, no houses, no country. I have no cultivated fields, no silver or gold for you to take. All you can get from me is war, nothing else. I have met your men in battle and have killed them. We are greatly pleased about this. Our men who have fallen in battle have won paradise. God fights for us, we fight by God's order. If you wish war, I am happy, if you wish peace, I am also content. But if you wish peace, go away from my country to your own. If you wish war, stay where you are. Why was Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan known to as Mad MOA? Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was called the Mad MOA by the British colonial authorities in Somalia, due to his uncompromising resistance against their attempts to colonize and control Somalia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The nickname was likely intended as a derogatory label, implying that he was irrational and fanatical in his opposition to British rule.
mar la isku dhaxwaashay oo qabiiladii intay hubeeyeen Ingiriiska ayaa wuxuu ka kacay dhulka baadiyaha siyaasaddu waxay bilaabeen oo Winston Churchill ogolaaday la oran jiray siyaasadii koostiga oo ah anaga Ingiriis hadaan nahay ay leeyihiin aan isugu tagno gumeysiga Ingiriiska xeebaha berbere iyo bulxaar iseel bas aan joogno.
What was the legacy of Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan? The legacy of Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is complex and multifaceted. He is widely regarded as one of the most important nationalist leaders in the history of Somalia and is remembered for his efforts to resist colonial rule and protect the independence of the country. Through his military campaigns, speeches, and writings, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan inspired generations of Somalis and is widely credited with shaping the nationalist sentiment in the country. In addition to his contributions to the independence movement, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is also remembered for his contributions to the country's cultural heritage. He wrote several poems in Somali and Arabic that are considered important works of literature and are still widely read and studied today. As a young Somali generations, what lessons can we learn from his legacy? As young Somali generations, there are several important lessons that can be learned from the legacy of Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan. Some of these lessons include: 1. Nationalism and resistance. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan is remembered as one of the most important nationalist leaders in the history of Somalia. He dedicated his life to resisting colonial rule and protecting the independence of the country, and his efforts serve as a reminder of the importance of national pride and resistance against external domination. 2. Leadership. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was a charismatic and effective leader who inspired thousands of followers. He demonstrated the qualities of leadership, including courage, determination, and vision, and his legacy can be seen as an example of what can be achieved through strong leadership. 3. Cultural heritage. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan was a writer and poet, and his contributions to the literary and cultural heritage of Somalia are widely recognized. He demonstrated the importance of cultural identity and preserving the country's cultural heritage. And his legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of art, literature, and creativity in shaping national identity. 4. Perseverance. Despite the many challenges he faced during his lifetime, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan remained committed to his cause and never lost sight of his goals. He serves as an example of perseverance and determination, and his legacy demonstrates the importance of perseverance and staying true to one's principles, even in the face of adversity. The letter from Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan to the British Governor of Somaliland, June 1905, 1. Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan first assured that he had accepted the peace settlement, that he would avoid conflict, that he would treat Swain's messengers well, and that he, if provoked by Somalis in British territory, would raise the matter with Swain before taking military action. Swain was Commander-in-Chief of the first British military expedition against Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan and Commissioner of the Somaliland Protectorate. 2. The second issue Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan raised was the special character of the Darwish, as they were the people of the book the Quran, of the Islamic law, and of God. 3. The Sayid complained about certain individuals in the British camp, such as the naval interpreter Ali Yutabai, Megan Aman, and the Akals, the headmen appointed and paid by the colonial administration, of the Darwish clan family residing in Berber. 4. The Sayid's fourth point continued the complaints about saboteurs in the British camp. 5. Sayid raised concerns about the livestock, possessions, and relatives his Darwish had left behind in the protectorate. In their absence, others might make decisions about these, for example marrying off young women and reap rewards. Sayid insisted that Swain prevent this. 6. Sayid asked for assistance, kind treatment, and all kinds of presents. Overall, Sayid Mohamed Abdulle Hassan's legacy serves as a tremendous example of resistance, leadership, cultural heritage, and persistence for future Somali generations. Young Somalis might be encouraged to continue the battle for freedom and to contribute to the growth and development of their nation by learning from his legacy. Legends, if you liked the story, please share and subscribe for more videos. Thank you very much.